Changing address, episode 7 of My Liberation Notes picks up back on the farm. Gai Jiyoung ends up doing the washing and notices her sister and Mr. Gu sharing a bottle of water. She scoffs, claiming they're on a date. It's a scorching day, but that night, as Gu joins the family for food, Jaho quizzes him over why he won't accept payment for doing the work. I enjoy it, he says. One character who's largely been on the periphery here is Oh Do-hwan. This episode we see him meeting a few friends. He also learns that Miss Kwak, a longtime crush of his, has broken up with her boyfriend. Chatting to Chang Hee about this over dinner, he admits that his heart fluttered fast when he found out. Mi Jiyoung is there, and she listens to this, interjecting and admitting that she's never experienced that. The only time her heart has beat fast is when bad things happen. For her, her heart beats slower when she likes someone, like she's been freed. Remember Mi Jiyoung changing her address to Gu's in order to hide her post? Well, her father finds out when he heads to the post office. Zaho obviously doesn't know about the mail, and instead, suspects that things are more serious than he initially thought between her and Mr. Gu. There's definitely some tension at work, but Gu receives a message from Mi Jiyoung, telling him that she's going to be late and missing out on their dinner. She has a meeting with the Liberation Club. Hyun Gai is there to oversee, and she checks their notebooks. For Taehan he writes stop feeling weak, but when he steps outside, Gai Jiyoung happens to be there, and the pair end up chatting. In fact, because Gai Jiyoung is so enamored with Taehan, she stops her initial hostility on the phone to her sister, and decides to let the Liberation Club continue. In fact, she hides inside herself and keeps moving tables until she's within earshot of their conversation. She overhears Taehan talk about his life and, specifically, how he felt when he lost his parents. The next day, Mi Jiyoung is confronted by her father about changing her address. She spins it as her helping a friend who filed for bankruptcy, but both her mom and dad tell her to change her address back. The thing is, there could still be letters sent regarding her loan payments, so that's incredibly problematic. Mi Jiyoung is struggling and knowing that her parents could well find out soon about her money woes. She messages Gu and asks him for help. She even decides not to go home until she can talk to Chan Hyok. Mi Jiyoung does manage to get through to him on the phone, but it's his partner, Si-young, instead. She admits that they're currently living hand-to-mouth. In fact, Chan Hyok is actually on the verge of selling his organs, given he owes money to a lot of people, and not just to Mi Jiyoung. Mi Jiyoung doesn't want to tell her parents and bemoans how she's going to become a delinquent borrower now. It's an impossible situation, and something THT sees Mi Jiyoung continue to spiral. When she heads home, she tells Gai Jiyoung that she was the one who asked Gu to worship her. Gai Jiyoung is taken back. Mi Jiyoung eventually makes her decision, and decides to shut her bank account 4 months before it's due to mature, until the pretense that Chan Hyok is going to pay her back. The bank worker is clearly disappointed, but she tells her to cheer up. That night, Gu answers the phone, where it's revealed that the mystery voice actually belongs to his brother. He curses Gu for hiding, and tells him that Sam Sik ran into Chairman Shin at a funeral. Gu asks how CB is instead, but apparently Gu's brother hasn't seen him in a while. It would appear that Gu could also be having money problems, but we agonizingly cut the scene before we find out. Mi Jiyoung catches up with Gu on the bus, and tells him she's changed her address, remaining hopeful that Chan Hyok will pay her back. Gu though, decides to help her, and asks for the guy's address and number, so he can persuade him. Mi Jiyoung eventually speaks to Gu over at his place about how she feels, imploring her not to get involved in fight. Part of the reason Mi Jiyoung wants Gu to worship her is so she can build up her self-esteem and confidence. In doing so, she may even confront her ex, and get the money back from him. Gu eventually agrees, in his own way, and sets out to make her some food. Water, she says after he drops the saucepan in front of her on the table. Gu gets her a bottle from the fridge. Gu admits that he's a scary person, and wouldn't even flinch if he was stabbed in the stomach. However, when he's around Mi Jiyoung he gets scared and nervous. Keep going, I like it. Mi Jiyoung says. It's a really nice moment between the pair, and something that sees Mi Jiyoung start to grow in confidence. Unfortunately, Gai Jiyoung doesn't share that same enthusiasm. She sits in the bar, pointing out that she's broken, because she likes Taehan. She's conflicted over whether to tell him this, but Gai Jiyoung's boss encourages her to be honest, and ask him out. This is, obviously, something made all the harder by Chang Hee's earlier chat back home, where he was talking about his sister behind her back, pointing out her erratic behavior. On the way home, Gai Jiyoung listens to sad music, sings out of time, but still much better than this reviewer's singing, and eventually heads home. In the morning, Mr. Gu gives Mi Jiyoung a lift to the train station, but Gai Jiyoung urges him to move over, so she can get in too. Chang Hee eventually rocks up later, and asks how they got there so fast. Her boyfriend gave us a lift, Gai Jiyoung says matter-of-factly, smiling weakly and walking up the platform. Chang Hee thinks it over, and realizes that it's Mr. Gu. Even during its slower episodes, like this one, My Liberation Note still continues to deliver enthralling and gripping drama. The romance brewing between Mi Jiyoung and Mr. Gu is so well written, and the fact that this may well be the catalyst for the other characters to start making changes in their own life is a great hook. It's interesting to see the juxtaposition of fate between Gai Jiyoung and Mi Jiyoung too. While the latter appears to have found her love and is just now starting to grow more confident, Gai Jiyoung is despairing over her own feelings and unsure where she stands with Tae-hun. There's also the subject of Chang Hee, who doesn't get a lot of time this episode. Instead, we get a bit more of Do-hwan, who has his own issues. He's been on the periphery for a while, but it's great to get some time with him in this chapter. The ending is perfectly poised for more drama to follow, so we'll have to wait and see where this one goes next.